Can you close the door, please? So my name is Mel, and I work at Men's For You. I am the owner and designer, and creative designer, producer. I'm doing it all right now by myself, but soon we will be having a storefront, and I will be hiring a prep work, a clerk that will do prep work for me, who will do my layouts, who will cut my fabrics for me, do finishing seams, things like that. So if you have those qualifications, you think you can maybe do that, you want to do it maybe for a part-time job, just a couple hours a week, give us a call, 254-290-7720. Men's For You is local here in Killeen, Texas, and I do, like I said, all my work right now is at home, and I do the bulk of the actual work, on a machine. But some things will require some finishing seams or hand sewn, and that is what my clerk will do once the storefront is up and running. So again, if you're interested, go ahead and give us a call. We'll set up an interview. Maybe we can get something worked out. Okay? So today I'm working on retro yoga pants. I have a client who has created her own patterns. She has provided her fabric, and she has requested a specific type of purchase. Her order includes 5 pairs of pants in different sizes, and a couple of bralettes, which are just basically the top, the yoga top, that match. You can see pictures on our shop. Listings are not available right now, but there are pictures and photos available to see the kind of work that we do. I try to make my work look as professional as possible, because you come to me looking for that professional look. You want a finished look, and I don't send out things without a finished look. So it's just a standard that I keep. And again, if you work for me, that will be a standard you keep as well. Okay. So right now, I'm using a blind hem stitch. That's the right needle. Only 3 threads, because you don't need the left needle. The right needle is, actually I should probably switch it, because a blind hem stitch needs to be on the left. It just barely catches. But right now, what we're doing in multi-stitch is a flat like overlock stitch. Please correct myself. And that's just going to be used to make the final seam of the waistband to the actual waistband of the pants. So we've pinned it. It's all in place, and this is the first pair that we're doing today. We've got 3 other pairs to do, as well as a waistband for a couple of bralettes. So we will get started here in a moment. I've got my machine threaded. I'm using yellow, blue, and a pink. These colors just match what the fabric that we're using. This is a waistband that I've created. I created it a couple of days ago. I have sewn the fabric, into a waistband length of what the client has requested, and they requested about 1 inch. So they requested that it be an elastic waistband as well. So we have inserted elastic throughout this entire prepared waistband, and that's just going to be available for whatever garments that we need it for. That took about a day, to be honest with you, making that particular waistband, just because I had to sew the pieces together, and then I had to turn the pieces inside out, and then I had to put the elastic in the inside out pieces. It was a lot of fun, but I did it, and it's done, and it's going to look great. So let's get to it. So because I'm right now been working in my bedroom, my craft space is otherwise used by my children so that they can do activities and crafts and things and whatnot. So I've been doing it in my room. I have a lap desk, and then I use my pedal. I use it by hand to guide what I do. It's just my method. We don't want pins to go in there when we're sewing, because that will just mess up the machine. It'll bend your needle. It could dull your cutting blade. On a serger, this is what a serger is looks like. A serger is, that seam that you see on your clothes, like if you turn it inside out, right inside there's a seam. Well, that's a blind stitch. You don't see that one, but the seam that you see inside your clothes, okay, it's a finishing seam. It's a serging seam. It's a seam that you can use a sewing machine or a serger to accomplish. I use a serger machine just because it is the quickest way to get the look that you're looking for. Sometimes I use a sewing machine just to base stitch things together, just so I know what it looks like, and then I go back over. Usually all of the garments that I make, I will base stitch together, show the client that you know, it has been pieced together, make sure that the qualifications, specifications have been met, and I go ahead and do a permanent stitch here on my serger. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to cut this off. I was hoping to I don't know, what do I do? To just basically sew this waistband as it is to the actual pair of pants, but right now it's just not really working. So I don't know if that's going to work. It's not really the look I'm looking for. We want it to be centered though, because your waistband, you don't want to see the seam necessarily separate from the seam of the waistband. Does that make sense? You have a waistband seam, right? The ones that holds the waistband and the pants together, but you don't want the seam of the actual waistband, right? The roundness of it, where it connects. You don't want that to be differentiated from the actual seam of the pants, because then you're off. And it's off, and your pants don't wear quite as right. I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, but they don't fall on the body like they should. So what we'll do is cut this here. I've got some excess fabric and elastic waistband that I prepared and that I'd already pinned to the what I'd already pinned to the pants, the project that we're working on right now. I'm just about done. I would say about half done. We just got this last piece left to do, and I'll have to be able to show it to you, so you guys can see what exactly we're doing. Gotta make sure that all of this is kept together, however, and we want that. What I'm doing right now is turning in the ends so that whatever you see, it looks finished. You know what I mean? You don't want it to be exposed. You don't want people to understand the inner workings of the stitching. I know every time I go in to any store, be it the grocery store or whatever, and I see someone, I notice the seams. That's just the seamstress in me. I notice the seamstry, the stitch. How well was the piece put together? And if you could tell how it was put together, it wasn't put together very well. Which is why you don't want a lot of seams showing. You want as many seams hidden, covered, adapted into the design as you can get. Because then you know that that everything is covered, everything looks nice, and it looks at its best. It's important to make sure that you keep it at its best. Okay, so I'm going to curl this other end in as well, so that this elastic can be sewn together. I'll probably end up doing the basting stitch again on the sewing machine, and then come back to the serger after I finish this waistband to make sure that I can get that finished look. Again, this part here, I have a standard, okay, and I require that people who work with me or for me, they keep that standard. It's very important because it's my brand, right? It's my brand that's being put out there. And I understand it's your work, but when it becomes your shop, then it's your work, okay? But as long as you're working for me, it's my work, and I want it to be the very best that I can put out. I appreciate anybody who stops by just to visit, see how I operate. But this is just proof. This video is proof that I don't actually close. I'm never ever closed. Ever. But I'm close to the public right now during the month of November for personal reasons. And even though I'm closed, I am still open for the clients that I already have, which means they can still reach me. I'm still available to them, which is how it should be, I think. So right now, we're going to go ahead and hope that this works like I want it to. There's a lot of layers here, and I learned recently why there's a certain setting on the surgery machine, why it's important to have people know that. It's important to know that you have to have all the layers aligned. You have to be able to see them so that when you're going in for a hem or for a seam stitch on a serger, that all of those layers will be included. Otherwise, you're going to get a hole. You're going to see a hole in the seam, and you're not supposed to see holes. That's the purpose. That's the actual point of not using the machine in that purpose, is so you don't see holes. Okay, we're still going. We've got a lot of pins in place. You just got to be really careful not to let them get underneath your cutting knife, because your cutting knife, it must remain as sharp as possible for as long as possible. Because I don't even know at this time where I would go to get my, to get it repaired, I guess. I don't know. Or sharpened. But I don't know how to sharpen it, that's for sure. So, I don't know, you guys know, you saw my pin cushion. This is homemade. I made it myself. My tutor that taught me how to sew on a sewing machine, she had her own pin cushion, and I couldn't figure out how she made it happen. But through all of the different crafting hobbies that I have picked up along the way, I made myself a pin cushion. So who needs to buy pin cushions when you can make them yourself? That's why I love to sew. It's because you can do anything with the God-given hands that He gave us. Anything. I mean, absolutely anything. You can craft anything. You can create anything. You could save your lives. It's a survival skill, to be honest with you. And it's becoming a lost art, learning how to sew for oneself. However, as long as you guys don't want to sew for yourself, there's the stylish seamstress. That's my job. I sew for you. So we are almost done here with all of those pins that I had in place. Just a couple more pins left. This is the beginning of what I started earlier. I went before the seam so that when I got to the seam, the waistband seams right here, it didn't look, I don't know. It's important. Appearances are everything. Okay, appearances are everything. It's important to make sure that each of your seams are or the best seam that you can put forward, especially when you call yourself the stylish seamstress. It's very important, don't you think? To be careful of that. I have a client who, the first time I worked for her, I say the first time because we have a contract going on. But the first time I worked for her, I was daunted by the task. Okay, the task was just, I couldn't do it. There's no way that I was going to be able to make this happen because I'd never, used a serger machine. I didn't tell her that, but I'd never used it. Like, even used it. I'd done some hemming, but I hadn't actually used it to create a whole product line, I guess. And then, of course, the fabric that she wanted to use, it's not like an everyday fabric. It's something that you really have to know how to work with. You know what I mean? So, we're on batch 3. So, obviously, I got over it. You know what I mean? I conquered the serger, as it were. And I'm able to do it with ease now. Now it's more natural for me to accomplish what she's requesting of me. But I make tights for her, footed tights, and they come in different fabrics because she purchased different fabrics, has them delivered to my house, just like this customer did. Had these fabrics sent to my house from her shop. She has a clothing shop in New York. I don't remember what it's called, something babeling.com, if you want to look that up. But all of these projects that I work on, I do my very best to promote the designer who came up with the idea, because I want them to make money with the product that I am creating for them, right? It's important that they actually, prosper from what I create for them, because then why would they come back if they don't? You know what I mean? So it's important to me to make sure that all of that is up to par. Each client has a different set of standards. Each client has different requirements and needs, and you just got to be able to adapt accordingly. So I'm sorry if it's going to glare, because I am working with a light here. My overhead light is kaput, but I still choose to work in here rather than in my actual office, just because some things have to be kept separate. You know what I mean? I know that this is a live video, so some of you may have never ever heard of me before. I am stylish seamstress, and I am basically self-taught. After the sewing machine, I taught myself everything, because if I know how to do this, why would I stop, right? I mean, why would you dare stop to cap yourself, to limit yourself as to what you can create? And now I have cultivated a clientele that expect a certain standard from me. And it's really cool to know that I set that standard for myself and met it time and time again, yeah? So just because you say that you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you can. There's some projects that I've taken on that I finish them. I always finish what I start. But it's not something I want to do on a regular basis, you know what I mean? And because that's my business, that is my business actually does, is men's for you. If I don't want to do it, then I'm not going to do it on a regular basis, right? If I'm having a struggle to finish it, I'm definitely not going to want to do that on a regular basis, because that's going to hold me up with doing projects for other clients who have an idea of what they want. And I've worked with them already before. So we're just about done here. Coming up to my last pin. And we're going to take that out. And as I said before, we've got a chain here. I don't know if you can see that. This is a chain. I'll bring you closer. So this chain here is where I started, and every time that you start your serger, it should have a chain already started, just so that you're not starting with ends. Ends unravel, especially when it comes to a serger. This is very important to have a chain. Chain is what starts and keeps your serger threaded. Okay, so make sure you always start with it. I call it a daisy chain, but it's not a daisy chain. Pretty sure daisy chain has something to do with doilies, or at the very least crochet. So now that I'm coming to the end of this particular waistband, I'm going to try to go in as close to the beginning as possible, so that there's not a break in the seam. So now that we finished that, there's a couple places, see, like I said, that didn't get serged. So I'm going to have to go back and do that by hand, because they did not, okay, they didn't make it through, as you can see. So, however, for the most part, this is waistbanded, okay. Other than that, it's completely finished. I've already done the hems. We went ahead and finished those seams earlier today. And all of these are just waiting for the waistband. This is a finishing seam type of job that I'm looking for a clerk for. What we do is you take these final pieces, and I would serge them, you know what I mean, because you want them together. However, currently, we got to find the elastic, because those are important, right? You got to make sure those come together because they are exercise pants. They have to be actually stay up, you know what I mean, on someone's waist, regardless of the size. And now granted, the ones I'm using right now are, they're for bigger people, bigger women, but I'm a bigger woman, so it's important to know how to do it. So what I'm going to do first is, like I said, I'm going to base this stitch on a sewing machine, and then go ahead and serge it so that not only is it straight, okay, because right now it's kind of an angle, it's also connected to the point where I can pull it apart and lay it flat. So then, after I do that on the machine, the sewing machine, I will come back to my serger, and I will serge the cloth, the finishing of the cloth to the other side. It's important to have all of these pieces combined though, because then, like I said, the elastic will come undone, and then your pants will fall off. And that's not something you want at the gym. I mean, that's not something I look forward to doing at the gym, you know, having my pants fall down. So, anyway, sometimes your pins are good, sometimes they're not. And this one apparently doesn't want to behave. So, I wanted to just try out how this live video would go. However, I will post videos from time to time just to show you guys work in progress, what it is exactly that Men For You does for the local community. So this is Melita Vanessa Willox Wade, also known as the Stylish Seamstress. Prophetess, LGBTQ. Signing off. We'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye.